Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Johnson, Ambassador, honourable friends, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the UK Parliament, it's my pleasure to formally welcome Mike Johnson, the 56th Speaker of the US House of Representatives, to the Palace of Westminster to mark the 250th anniversary of the American Declaration of Independence, which will fall on the 4th of July 2026.
Hey guys, welcome back to Dr. John Podcast. The impeachment articles against Trump are already written and filed. Democrats are just waiting for the votes. Trump himself confirmed this, telling Republicans directly that if they lose the midterms, his impeachment is guaranteed. His political survival is essentially on a countdown clock.
Of course, you and I have met on several occasions at the G7 Speakers Conferences, but it's always been a pleasure as the 158th Speaker of the House of Commons to welcome a fellow Speaker to the Mother of Parliaments. Yesterday, we had a chance to chat over a cup of tea. Our first trade dispute was over tea at the Boston Tea Party. We've only just about forgiven you for that trade dispute, so I'll say no more about any other.
Tied entirely to the midterm results. Think about what that means. The impeachment isn't hypothetical. It isn't something Democrats might consider if Trump does something bad enough. It is already drafted, already planned, already waiting for the moment when the balance of power shifts. Representative Al Green filed articles accusing Trump of abusing power, inciting violence.
It means so much to us. It's a real detriment to follow Speaker Hoyle. I don't like to do this. At the G7 speakers meetings, I just want you to know when he gets wound up and going, it's just like Churchill, and it goes on and on and on. And I try to speak before him at all times. I don't want to follow, but really, really grateful to be here. He has become a dear friend, and all of you, we've met so many great friends. My wife Kelly and I are truly touched by how warmly we've been received here, and having met so many of you in the past couple of days, we walked away with this sense that we do have close and dear friends here across the pond, and we have this shared heritage, and we treasure that. It is a profound honor to be speaking in Parliament today, to be the first U.S. Speaker of the House ever given this honor, and I take it very seriously. As proud Americans, it is as though we have returned to the spiritual birthplace of our own nation.
Threatening lawmakers and federal judges. Those articles are live. They're active. They're just not moving because Republicans control the House floor. But the moment that changes, the moment Democrats win back control, those articles go from sitting in a file to the floor of the House. No delay, no deliberation, no let's take 6 months to figure out if we should do this. Boom, impeachment. Now, let's be clear about what makes this different. The first impeachment was about Ukraine. A phone call, pressure for investigations, a quid pro quo that got him in trouble. The second impeachment was about January 6th. A single day, a speech, an insurrection, and a response that came in the aftermath. Those were reactive. Something happened, and Congress responded. This third impeachment is premeditated. Democrats have already decided what the charges are going to be. They've already written the articles. They're just waiting for the opportunity to pull the trigger. And once they have the votes, it happens almost automatically. It's not a question of whether. It's a question of when. And the charges are brutal. H. Resn. 353 lays out 7 detailed articles of impeachment: obstruction of justice, abuse of trade powers, abuse of war powers, First Amendment violations, violating Congress's appropriations power, bribery and corruption. And then there's Article 7, tyranny. They literally put tyranny in the impeachment articles. Let that sink in. The elected representatives of the United States have drafted formal charges accusing the sitting president of tyranny. That's not political rhetoric. That's not cable news hyperbole. That is the official language of impeachment, filed and ready to go. So here's where we are. Trump is sitting in the White House knowing that if he loses Congress, he's facing a third impeachment. He's facing weeks of Senate trial where witnesses testify about his conduct. He's facing the real possibility of becoming the first president in American history to be removed from office through impeachment and conviction. And even if he survives, even if the Senate acquits him like they did twice before, the political damage is catastrophic. He becomes the only president ever impeached 3 times. That's the legacy. That's what follows him for the rest of his life. And the Capitol is already starting to erupt. Progressive members are calling for his resignation. Outside groups are running impeachment campaigns. The resolutions are on file. Democrats are openly saying that if they win back the House, Trump's time is up. It's not subtle. It's not behind closed doors. It's explicit. Congress is essentially telling voters, if you give us the majority, we're removing this president. Which brings us to the 2026 midterms. This is no longer about healthcare policy. It's no longer about inflation, jobs, or the economy. The 2026 midterms are now a referendum on whether Donald Trump should remain in office. Are you going to elect a Congress that will impeach him, or are you going to elect a Congress that will protect him? That's what's on the ballot. That's the choice voters are being asked to make. And Trump understands that. That's why he's desperate. That's why he's warning his party. That's why he's telling them they have to win. Because he knows what comes next. He knows the articles are already written. He knows the votes are waiting. He knows that once Democrats take control, his presidency becomes about survival. It becomes about fighting another impeachment, another trial, another round of evidence presented to the American people. Now let's understand how impeachment actually works. The House has the sole power of impeachment. It's in the Constitution. If a majority of the House votes for articles of impeachment, the president is impeached. That's just an accusation. From there, it goes to the Senate for trial. 2/3 of the Senate has to vote to convict. That's 67 senators. If they convict, the president is removed from office. Andrew Johnson was impeached and acquitted by 1 vote. Richard Nixon was about to be impeached and resigned before the vote happened. Bill Clinton was impeached and acquitted. Trump has been impeached twice and acquitted twice. So impeachment is rare. Removal is even rarer. It's never happened. But here's what's different about this situation. Impeachment is usually a reaction to a specific event. Something happens, and Congress decides whether that event rises to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors. That's not what's happening here. Democrats have already decided that Trump's entire presidency, his whole approach to governance, the pattern of conduct over years, rises to that level. They've drafted articles that cover multiple areas: abuse of power, obstruction of justice, violations of the First Amendment, violations of war powers, violations of Congress's power of the purse, bribery, corruption, and tyranny. They're building a case that Trump as a complete package is a threat to democracy and should be removed. So why aren't they moving now? Because it won't pass. Republicans control the House. Republicans are not going to vote to impeach Trump. Filing the articles and holding a vote would be a waste of time. It would fail. So Democrats are waiting. They're waiting for the midterms. They're waiting to see if they can win back control. And if they do, the impeachment moves immediately. Within days, those articles go to committee. Within weeks, they come to the floor. Within months, you're looking at a Senate trial. There's no delay. There's no extended deliberation. The work is already done. The articles are already written. They just need the majority. And Trump is sitting there watching this happen. He's looking at the same polls everyone else is looking at. He's seeing the same electoral map. He's hearing the same whispers from his own party. And he's doing the math. If Republicans hold the House, he probably survives. If they lose, he faces impeachment. It's that simple. That's why he's telling his party, we have to win, because if we don't, I'm done. He's not talking about losing political power in the abstract. He's talking about facing a third impeachment. He's talking about becoming the first president in history to be removed from office or the first president in history to be impeached 3 times. Either way, it's a legacy of disgrace. Now, how have presidents handled this kind of threat in the past? Richard Nixon faced certain impeachment and chose to resign. He saw the votes coming, knew he would be convicted, and decided to step down rather than drag the country through the process. Bill Clinton faced impeachment and decided to fight. He was impeached in the House, tried in the Senate, and acquitted. He survived, but it damaged him politically. It consumed his second term. Trump has faced impeachment twice and fought both times. He's been impeached twice and acquitted twice. He's probably going to fight a third impeachment too. He's not going to resign. He's going to make Congress drag him out. He's going to force a Senate trial. He's going to try to survive again. But this time might be different. A third impeachment looks like a pattern. It looks like Congress has spent his entire presidency trying to remove him. That changes how people view it. That changes how senators might vote. The first impeachment was about 1 phone call. The second was about 1 day. This impeachment would be about years of alleged abuses of power. It would be about a pattern of conduct. It would be presented as proof that Trump is fundamentally unfit for office. And that's a powerful argument. That's why Democrats have drafted articles that cover so much ground. They're not betting everything on one charge. They're giving senators multiple reasons to vote for conviction. They're building a case that's harder to dismiss. Could Trump survive a third impeachment? Sure, he survived the first two, but at what cost? Another Senate trial, another month of his presidency being about impeachment instead of governing, another opportunity for his enemies to present evidence against him, another chance for his allies to fracture. And Trump knows that. That's why he's panicking about the midterms. That's why he's telling Republicans they have to win. He's looking at this situation and understanding that if Democrats take Congress, his presidency becomes a nightmare, not just politically, but personally. And here's the thing, Democrats aren't hiding anymore. They're talking about impeachment publicly. They're saying if they win, they're going to move. They're essentially telling voters that a vote for Democrats is a vote to impeach Trump. That changes the midterms. It's no longer about which party controls Congress. It's about whether Trump stays in office or faces removal. It's a direct vote on Trump's presidency. And Trump is telling his party that if they lose this election, his presidency is over. Politically, legislatively, personally, it's over. So what happens if Democrats win? Let's break it down. Trump is essentially on probation. His presidency is in a holding pattern. He stays in office as long as Republicans control Congress. The moment that changes, his time is up. That's the reality. That's what Trump is acknowledging. His political survival depends entirely on keeping Congress in Republican hands. That's an incredibly precarious position to be in because elections can swing, parties can lose control, and when they do, Trump faces removal. The articles are already written. Democrats aren't going to have to spend months drafting impeachment articles if they win. They already have them. They've already decided what the charges are. The articles are sitting there ready to go. That means impeachment could move very quickly. Within days of Democrats taking control, you could see articles moving through committee. Within weeks, you could see a House vote. Within months, you could see a Senate trial. There's no delay. There's no let's take our time. There's just boom, here are the articles, we're voting, let's move. The charges are serious and numerous. 7 articles covering obstruction of justice, abuse of power, war powers, violations, First Amendment violations, bribery, corruption, and tyranny. Tyranny is listed as an article of impeachment. Democrats are literally saying Trump has behaved like a tyrant. That's how seriously they're taking this. And having multiple charges makes impeachment more likely to succeed. You don't have to convince senators that every single charge is true. You just have to convince them that enough are true to warrant removal. Multiple charges give Democrats multiple avenues to conviction. This is unprecedented. No sitting president has ever faced a situation where Congress has pre-drafted impeachment articles waiting for the moment to move. The 2 previous Trump impeachments were reactive. Something happened and Congress responded. This impeachment is strategic. Democrats are sitting there with the articles written, waiting for the votes. That's never happened before. It's a sign of how serious they think this is. They're not waiting to see if they should impeach. They've already decided they should. They're just waiting for the chance. The midterms become a referendum on Trump's presidency. With articles already written and Democrats publicly committed to moving if they win, the 2026 midterms are no longer a normal election. They're a direct vote on removal. Voters are essentially being asked, do you want Congress to impeach Trump? Vote for Democrats, you're voting for impeachment. Vote for Republicans, you're voting to protect him. That's the choice. That's what's on the ballot. This could actually remove Trump from office. Impeachment doesn't automatically remove him. He could survive. He could be acquitted again. Republican senators might protect him again. But it's also possible this time is different. That a third impeachment is too much. That senators decide they can't keep defending him. That the weight of multiple serious charges finally tips the balance. If that happens, Trump is removed. J.D. Vance becomes president. And that's never happened before. No president in American history has been removed through impeachment and conviction. Trump could be the first. The 2026 midterms are the most important election in recent memory. If Republicans win, Trump probably stays in office. His presidency continues. If Democrats win, Trump faces impeachment. He faces a real possibility of being removed. His presidency ends. J.D. Vance becomes president. The entire political landscape changes. That's enormous. That's the most important thing at stake in any midterm election in modern history. Not just which party controls Congress, but whether the sitting president president stays in office or faces removal. So here's where we stand. The paperwork is filed. The articles are written. The charges are spelled out. Democrats are waiting for the votes. Trump is warning his party they have to win, because if they don't, he's done. The Capitol is erupting. Progressive members are calling for resignation. Impeachment campaigns are running, and the 2026 midterms have become a referendum on whether Trump should remain in office. This is democracy working. This is the system checking presidential power, and this is the most high-stakes political moment in a generation. Because the outcome of this election doesn't just determine who controls Congress. It determines whether the President of the United States faces removal.